Hello, everyone. Welcome to Shamanism, Metaphysics, and Grace. I'm Lauren Hubele, here with my favorite astrologer, Jyoti Wind. Jyoti, I know you have a lot on your list for us today. I look forward to hearing everything.
Thank you, Lauren. Let's jump in.
Okay, I'm ready.
Okay. Um, so I want to look at the new moon, but first, before that, because that's on Sunday, March 10th, I want to just give a kind of nod to the fact that tomorrow, on Friday, March 8th, is Mercury's conjuncting Neptune. And so Mercury is traveling, and it's where Neptune is in the heavens, toward the end of Pisces, and Mercury, with Neptune, sometimes it can make things a little foggy, little hazy, hard to see. But I'm thinking that with Mercury coming up to Neptune, it's kind of giving some clarity.
Oh,
It'll make things perhaps easier to see, easier to read.
so Jyoti, I think I remember Neptune's often when Neptune arrives or it's in an aspect, we have that kind of veiled sense, right? And so then
Yes.
I think I'm hearing you say with Mercury entering with its clarity and communication, we might see through it.
Yes, and we might, so to speak, rent the veil,
Oh,
have more clarity about where we are or what we're kind of, uh, mulling around.
hmm, hmm. Clarity is a good thing. We'll take that.
Clarity is a really good thing. Yes, in these times especially.
Absolutely.
Okay, and then I also want to give a nod on the 9th, on Saturday, that Mars is squaring the planet Uranus at 4 p.m. It's still Mountain Standard Time till that night. Um, and it's Mars square Uranus gives a kind of erratic energy pattern.
Hmm.
It's a good day to be mindful of where you put your feet, where you place your head, where if you're chopping vegetables with a knife, just be mindful of what you're doing, because the energy can be very erratic and scattered. And
Hmm.
so you don't want to, as I usually say, you don't want to stand up quickly and forget that you left a cabinet door open above your head.
Oh,
Not
oh,
fun.
we can all feel that. Ow, Choti.
Ouch. Yes.
So, is this because our energy is being pulled in another direction that we're
It's
not
just that
able?
with Uranus and Mars together, it's very erratic. I mean, we talked about possibly looking at aspects
Right.
today, and so a square, it's like you're coming at different angles towards
Ah,
something. So the energy's erratic. Mars, the physical, the planet Uranus, electricity and distraction. If this was a trine, it would give great courage, because a trine is an aspect of ease.
okay.
It
Okay.
would give great courage, great physical courage, like, oh, I've been waiting to do this and I finally feel like I'm ready to do it. Like I have the courage to go and do something. But this is a square, and so a 90-degree angle, and so it's frustrating. There's a lot of frustration in a square. Frustration, like, if I get frustrated enough, it will make me move. It
Mhm.
will make me take care of whatever's frustrating me.
Are there any planets that that's not true for when they form a square?
No, that's the nature of a square.
So you kind of get stuck in that corner.
Yeah, you kind of do. But at the same time, it's a push, because
Yeah.
it's like, if I get frustrated enough sitting with something that I'm just not wanting to do, let's say, or maybe don't feel capable of doing, or maybe I've just procrastinated so long that I figure I'm not going to do it. And then the square comes along and it's like, I got to do it. There's no question. It relieves the tension. It's like, okay, I have to do something here. I have to move. I have to move the energy. It's been sitting with my frustration and procrastination, perhaps too long. And the square comes along and it's a catalyst. It's like, okay, I'll deal.
Okay. Okay. And so kind of like a breakthrough, like a catalyst for a breakthrough.
Eventually, but
Eventually.
not in the moment. Sometimes in the moment it's full of frustration, and I always think, if a person gets frustrated enough, they'll do something about it.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Frustration, catalyst to change, breakthrough
Yes.
down the road.
Yes, yes. And so Saturday with this Mars square the planet Uranus, it's kind of that frustration, erratic energy, and a kind of wanting movement, wanting something to move and shift and change, even if it has to happen, uh, you know, in a way that maybe the person wouldn't consciously choose.
Jyoti, I keep getting this visual because that's the way my brain works. And I'm thinking about arriving at the stop sign at the same time at a four-way stop and nobody knows
Yeah.
to move. And eventually you're like, oh, okay, I'll go. Or
Yes. Yes, yes, and hope for the best.
yeah, yeah, just kind of
Yes,
squint your eyes.
yes, yes. That's a good example. How long are you going to sit there?
Right.
And then if you just get frustrated, nobody's going, okay, I'll go.
Fine, fine.
Yes,
Yeah.
that kind of feeling.
Okay, that's
So
good.
that's a square, and we know trine is ease, that it's more of a flow. And so when I mentioned that tomorrow there's a Mercury Neptune conjunction, a conjunction is a blend of energies. So it's not just Neptune, it's not just Mercury, it's Mercury and Neptune together. So what happens when those energies blend together? So it's a coming together for whatever purpose. In this case, it's Mercury, it's for insight.
Hmm. So is it an amplification?
Yes, but I always consider it a blend. I always considered it, I consider it power because it's not just one planet standing alone or the other planet standing alone. It's the blend of the two of them together, which gives more power to the situation.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. What's
Okay, so then we look at the new moon on Sunday, March 10th. I have it drawn up here for Washington, D.C., so it'll be Eastern Daylight Time because remember, we change our clock Saturday night, the wee hours of Sunday morning. So it's 5 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time for the new moon. And it gives what's called a stellium. So two planets together are a conjunction. Three or more planets very close together is called a stellium. Okay, they are all conjunct each other.
okay?
Okay, they're all within the orb of each other. Okay, so we have the new moon, the sun and moon are the same degree at 20 degrees Pisces. On one side is Saturn, and on the other side of the sun moon is Neptune, and then bringing in Mercury that has just moved into Aries. And so it's a new moon, a new cycle of really looking, I think, at where you take responsibility for yourself and for what you do. It's maybe a challenge to some existing beliefs about yourself because the sun and moon oppose Lilith, which is the shadow, which is the unseen parts of ourselves, our blind side. And so this is like a new cycle, perhaps, of working with those parts. I tell people, when you go to bed at night, ask into yourself, I want to see the parts of myself I don't see, because once you see something, then you have choice. When you're blind to it, it just runs you and signs the papers and signs you up for things you don't want to have to do. We all know that one. Yes.
Right, right. Yeah, yeah.
So then it's not just reacting to a stimulus. We
Mm,
can have a moment, perhaps just even a moment, of to choose how we want to respond to a situation rather than react.
mm. So is the aspect giving us that moment?
It's giving us a challenge, and then it's up to us what we do with it because it's an opposition. So in talking about aspects, we have two things that are opposing, well, the sun and moon and Lilith, and so they're opposing by 2 degrees. And so I always say, in a poetic sense, that an opposition longs in its sleep to become a conjunction. Okay, instead of either or, how does it become and? So
Mm,
this is saying, well, this is a new cycle. What about the shadow material? What about the disowned parts of ourselves? And how do we bring all that together in an and motion and say a new cycle of working with the shadow, of owning our disowned parts, of bringing those parts of ourselves that we look askance at, bringing them into our heart and loving them.
mm. Yeah, just moving us towards more wholeness.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And as you've said before, the more parts of ourself on board, the more we can do with them, right? We can be of more service.
The more we have to draw upon to make the choices we need to make,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, and so it is a new cycle, it is a new moon. And so on the other side of this sun moon, on one side is Saturn, then Neptune and Mercury. And so there's opportunities for taking responsibility and also insight into our own spiritual values, our own spiritual life, what we give credence to, what we make a stand for.
Mm.
It's like a new cycle of taking responsibility and asking for insights as we go forward.
Sounds like a good opportunity for some dream cultivation.
Absolutely. Dream work, journey work, visual, creative visualization, and you know, it's Pisces with Neptune. It's dreaming.
Yeah.
It's dreaming it up. You know, it's, well, where are you going? What do you want for yourself? What do you need to set in motion now that will fulfill you perhaps down the road? And whether that's night dreaming or whether it's day dreaming or, you know,
Yeah.
yeah.
Beautiful.
And it's a good night, that night just before the new moon. So Saturday night, that'd be a good night to pay attention to dreams and record them if you remember them when you wake up, and then look at them maybe a week later and see if
Hmm.
there's a message in there that you didn't catch right when you were writing it down.
Sure, sure. Lovely.
So I want to also look at the fact that on the 17th of March, a Sunday, Neptune is the sun, sorry, the transiting sun is conjuncting Neptune, and Mercury is entering its shadow. And so that's a simple but very powerful day, because where tomorrow Mercury is conjuncting Neptune, on the 17th, the sun will conjunct Neptune. And so it's really looking at your own spiritual beliefs, your own spiritual life. I mean, this is the day of the year that the sun will conjunct Neptune. It will do it again next year, wherever Neptune happens to be, but this is the one day for this year. And it wants you to see as clearly as possible and step into what's currently true for you, because
Hmm.
things shift and change.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, as we all know.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Mercury entering its shadow, it's in Aries. It'll remain in Aries during its retrograde and direct and catch up phase. Mercury enters its shadow on the 17th, so it kind of gives a herald, an idea of where that Mercury retrograde is going to take you. It goes retrograde on April 1st.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll look at that more down the road. But just the fact that Mercury is entering its shadow, it's getting us ready for some insights and what we might want to put into action and maybe even take some risks around with it being Aries.
What's interesting, both of those aspects coming on that in that same time period, isn't it?
Yes, yes. Yeah, sometimes things dovetail like that, or reinforce each other.
That's what it feels like. They're really supporting one another and this turning inwards, and so getting a taste of what we might be working with during
Yeah,
Mercury
what
retrograde.
we'll come back to.
Right.
Yes.
Mhm.
I know most people don't want to hear it around Mercury retrograde, because it takes us in. And as a culture, we don't usually go in a whole lot, generally speaking. And so then things out here in this realm kind of get misconstrued or confused or double booked or things being canceled. It's like musical appointments or musical chairs.
Mhm. Mhm. It's
Yeah.
funny, it's not like this doesn't happen a couple times a year, and every time you're caught like, oh yeah, inward, inward.
Yes. Yes. And so Mercury is assisting that
Yes.
that looking inward and coming perhaps to some different conclusions than going into the Mercury cycle that you might have had.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, it's just so interesting how culturally we see it as such a negative thing, and it's really the universe's way of supporting our growth and inner work.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Because left to our own devices, we'd be pulled out there by every little neon sign and,
Right.
come hither kind of thing. Most people wouldn't necessarily make time to really look more deeply inside.
Mhm.
It's just the way of human nature at this point in time. Perhaps in the future we'll be more introspective or more intuitive and just kind of know what we need to know in the moment.
Yeah. Yeah, but right now it takes some special effort that I think those that are willing benefit from it, and those that can, because there's a bit of luxury to being able to give it the time it needs.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And those that kind of feel pulled inside maybe against their will, or it feels more difficult, more frustrating, like, oh, I'm trying to get all this done out here, and all of a sudden I've got a setback, I've got to redo something. And um but I think if you make time and you're willing to make time during those 3 cycles of Mercury every year, that you benefit. There's benefits from it.
Yeah.
And you get more familiar with going inside, and like they say, growth is an inside job.
Well, and we're building muscle memory, how to get there each time.
Yes, absolutely. Yep.
Jyoti, thank you. Is there anything else you feel we need to know?
I don't think so, not at this point.
Okay, I know when we meet again, we're going to be almost to April, and there's so much coming up there. So I think everyone should enjoy these these 2 weeks ahead and these aspects before they really get wild.
Well, the next time we meet is going to be around the spring equinox, so we'll look at the chart for that next quarter of the year. And also an eclipse will be a full moon eclipse will be a couple days after we meet. So we'll look at that too.
Great, great. Wonderful. As always, Jyoti, it's a pure joy to be with you. Thanks for all your shared wisdom.
Thank you, Lauren. It's mutual.